Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there.
Looking okay there.
Yes.
So before we get going, we do want to thank our Patreons for your support. We couldn't do it in these times of the demonized world out there.
I know. We have to get more and more and more cryptic, and we really appreciate you guys being patient with us and helping us every way you can.
Absolutely. As we're able to, thankfully, start posting to Evolutionary again, and it has been demonetized for about 2 years now. And again, they've also held back EEARTS from achieving what Evolutionary had achieved. And it is really so obvious, but things are getting so obvious for so many people now. It really is.
They really are. It's going. It's becoming very black and white, and
Exactly.
It's like the veil is thinning more and more and more.
It is thinning more and more and more. And also, if you haven't checked it out, go check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com and learn more about us, who we are, what we do. And if you guys did want to make an appointment with us for anything from Vedic charts, Vedic astrology charts do usually take probably 3 hours or so to put together. So allow some time for an appointment for that. But as far as energy work, spiritual coaching, that stuff we could usually get you in a week or two. And so we see we have a 7.3 quake. That's a strong quake in Indonesia. And again, this is the Ring of Fire. And as we've said many times, if I had to pick one place where I would not be in these times, it'd probably be Indonesia because of the earth changes. Yet after the earth changes, this might be an amazingly gorgeous place that is much bigger, because I do think there's going to be a lot of new land masses over there in the Pacific. Maybe Zealandia will once again rise to the surface, or as more and more water gets locked up at the poles, if we get deeper into an ice age, as many are feeling, a mini ice age coming, we're technically not out of an ice age now, technically, then water level will, drop instead of what has been forecast by Al Gore and many others.
Oh, right. And they're still raking it in for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see 7.3 listing here on USGS. 166.9 kilometers deep, so no tsunami warning was put up on this one. And we could see Darwin, Australia over here. There's 3 aftershocks, 2 4.9s and a 4.6. And they actually did feel it in Darwin. Northern Australia rocked by this 7 point, they're calling it a 7.2. Anyway, you look at it, strong, very strong one, but not something that's, we see strong ones like that in that area on a regular basis. If you're looking at the full year, you will see a handful of them. So Alaska sets new December temperature record, 67 balmy degrees Fahrenheit.
That is insane for that area. Wow.
And you think about it again. Gosh, what was that movie? 30 Days of Night. There was a vampire flick that was set up in Alaska, and it was saying how it's perfect for vampires because, when it's one time of the year, you don't see the sun at all, so they could be about and doing their thing.
Yeah, they're just out having a party 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. But, we talk about the extremes. And here you see Inner Mongolia, negative 52.4 Fahrenheit. Oof, now that is cold. So, this is what we got. The extremes are more extreme and seems to be more of them. So we have this from Zero Hedge. Dr. Doom warns of clouds over 2022. 2022. Ooh, 2 being duality, right? 2, 2, 2 equals a 6.
Yes.
Yeah, what will 2022 bring? Well, I can tell you one thing, it's not going to be boring.
No, it's definitely not. It's going to be, a time where we probably face some new interesting challenges, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. And as this is an understatement, in addition to central banks shifting towards policy normalization, geopolitical and systemic risks are multiplying. Oh, yeah, of course, plague upon the land's one thing. But what this touched on, especially geopolitical, there's three major things to watch. First, Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. This is what the article is saying. And it remains to be seen whether negotiations can prevent an escalation. Then you got the Sino-American Cold War getting frigid, as frigid as the temperature in Inner Mongolia. China is increasing military pressure on Taiwan and in the South China Sea. And then we have Iran is now on a NUKE threshold as far as their ability. So will Israel strike? I think that's a given. You know, that's what they've always done. And then, of course, we got the drought, we got the fires, we got the heat waves, we got hurricanes, floods, typhoons. We got the four horsemen drawing nearer.
They really are. You know, we can stop and look at things around us and, you know, set up an understanding for all of these things that we have seen coming at the end of times. I call it, it's more of a changing of times, not the end of times.
You know, it's the end of an age, and then it'll be the beginning of another age. And so we see, at the request of Putin, that him and number 46 are going to be speaking on Thursday. So we'll see what will come from that, as you know, things have gotten pretty frosty. And again, here's the thing that comes to my mind when I said things are getting pretty frosty, and I see one person playing chess by himself and turning the fan on full blast on the chessboard. You know, because in reality, again, the controllers control all the sides. There's strings that attach to these things. We've looked at a lot of different things. You know, we look at this, well, there's so many fake banners, right? The sinking of the Lusitania. How about, when, whatchamacallit went down, one with Leonardo in it, the Titanic, right? I mean, coincidentally, there were some very important people in the banking industry that were on board that ship that were against certain major policies that got put into place. Maybe they wouldn't have gotten put into place if they actually survived.
Right.
You know, yeah.
That was a pretty dirty trick, but you just can't put anything past these beings. They'll do whatever they want to do, really. And our job is to find our own path, find our own way, not to be under their control at all.
Absolutely. You know, as we said before, if the leadership of this world is truly trying with all their hearts to make the people of the world's lives as good as possible, well, you know, I don't even think you could give them an F. It wouldn't even be that high.
They have so much money. If they were really trying with their hearts, we would be in good shape if they were trying.
Meanwhile, we have officials at the fine dining ware country admitting that they're having problems putting things on the fine dining ware itself. You know, as far as things to eat, struggles providing food. In Xi'an, which is locked down, and as we've reported on Evolutionary, there's reports of a certain type of fever that's breaking out there, which we did not get confirmation from the guides that it's actually happening in the way that it's, being portrayed. But the guides did say that they felt at some point in time we really would see something of that point, of that significance. And then again, that's hunkered down time where we really take things extremely serious.
Absolutely. Stay on guard, ultimately.
And here we see agricultural secretary who warned of an imminent food crisis and then was later removed from his post. And this is, in India, as I hear what sounds like a military jet going overhead. So, jet. Yeah, interesting. it appears again that in this world, there's a lot of either socks being stuck in mouths or tape going over your vocal orifice.
It does seem like certain entities are trying to reach out and say something, and they just keep kind of getting silenced one after the other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not good because
No.
that's going to lead to problems with the throat chakra.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Russia's new S-550 air defense system has been rolled out. The unparalleled S-550 missile defense system is in operation, apparently. It's been put into service. And they've talked about the hypersonic missiles being rolled out in mass and put into service. It's more of the writing on the wall as to that reality of that third great global conflagration that it seems certain powers are very, very much trying to manifest. And by the way, U.S. troops are basically going to get a pay cut in 2022 when you factor in inflation. As now inflation's rising at much higher than 2.7% rise, doesn't seem proper, but there's not a lot of things that are really proper when you get down to it. A couple of other things of note. There's a lot of people leaving the scene right now. You're noticing a lot, like celebrities, even politicians, and a ton of athletes with, either, like we were saying in the last video, health problems in the prime of their life, stepping down or, just leaving the physical realm altogether. It's really kind of staggering to see the changes that are underfoot. And we know 2022 is going to probably see a big increase in those things. And this article is talking about the last war, how a U.S. Russia conflict would play out. And it gets into the thing that hits me is they're just looking at it like it would be Russia against the U.S. And, Russia does have twice the number of tanks. A lot of them are older and, not so up to date. But it would never just be Russia. It's what you have to factor in. And as soon as I was reading this to Cindy, the guides came through and said, absolutely, it's always going to be the two of them. Well, at least until the power structure is totally different on the planet, then there is the possibility of an actual conflict between the two of them.
Right.
Once the current structure of power, which has been Western dominant, U.S. dominant, NATO dominant, is no longer the case, then yes, then you might see the two of them more at odds with each other. But initially, no, they're definitely on the same side. And so, while the U.S. Has twice the amount of people that Russia does, China has 5 times the amount of people that the U.S. does, pretty much, over 4 times the amount. So, and then when you add to the fact that China's Navy is now the largest, period, and then these hypersonic weapons and the technology that's being upgraded via non-Homo sapiens means.
Right.
And here we're being warned of another rare superbug. Poses a global threat. I mean, it's a new one every day, isn't it?
It is, and it's more and more and more, and these things are coming to the forefront. All the more, as my throat chakra goes. We were just having a talk with one of our family members yesterday. She's noticed other people, when they start talking about certain things, they start coughing. Their throat chakra goes.
She said it's not just our channel. It's not just Mike having his coffee in the morning and choking on it.
It's this kind of thing keeps popping up. So it's like definitely on the forefront. All the more reason to boost our immune systems, you guys. Boost, boost, boost.
So yeah, this is that rare fungal infection. And then again, the way things are approached in the Western mindset is how these things come about. again, it's not truly looking at things in a holistic manner, and it's not looking at things in a balanced approach. And when I had Lyme's disease and I was working for a pharmaceutical company, I didn't go to an MD. I went to a naturopath and somebody that was well versed in traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbology, and the first appointment was like between 90 minutes and 2 hours. How often do you spend 2 hours with your MD? Ever? Is that maybe 20 visits? But that how can they learn about your emotional makeup in 5 to 10 minutes? How can they learn about what's happening with the family? Perhaps there's issues with the spouse. Perhaps there's issues with parents, children, other family members. They can't learn about what's going on in your mind and in your heart in 10 minutes. It's just part of the Western system that just doesn't understand that we are very complex beings.
We are, and our emotions are so important, and they need to be processed. They need to be processed to the point where it brings us balance. And if we are stuffing our emotions, that's what causes the dis-ease in life. And these are things that we need to pick apart and look at and examine so that we can be whole, healthy, contributing beings.
Exactly. First ever fully autonomous, yes, semi with no drivers.
Yikes.
Rolling down the road in Arizona.
Oh boy.
Yes. So, if you have a truck go flying by you and you look up and there's nobody driving it, don't be surprised. Yeah, there's shortages going on. There's shortages. There's most definitely, we know all about these shortages, and so many people have left their professions. A friend of mine was looking to relocate to an area, and I was like, well, I'm going to go take a look and see, what jobs are in the local paper, what jobs are on Craigslist in that area for you. And my God, they wanted truck drivers, and they've always wanted truck drivers. But this is different now, and so things are being automated again. You might go through your KFC or your McDonald's if you are on that fast track to suicide.
Yeah.
Wouldn't recommend it.
No.
I mean, not in these times with our immune systems need to be functioning, so avoid the fast food, guys.
Yeah, eat fast, die young.
Exactly. But just saying that, we'll get used to having that automated voice when you hit the little pad and say, I want a number one, and they're going to ask you if you want to supersize your way to death, and it'll be that robotic voice coming through.
And it's only for 35 more cents to supersize your way to death.
Yeah, and if you want to, figure it costs you 35 cents, but it might cost you 2 hours off your life or a day off your life. Again, it's up to the individual to make their own choices, but there are going to be some industries that we'll see completely automated. And think about how things were in times of war on a global scale. All the men were away in World War II. For the most part, a ton of them were away. So it was all the ladies doing the men's work here while the men were away over there. And that's just something to think about too. Again, I did read a comment from somebody that had family over in the Ukraine where they're talking about both their significant other and her mother, who's like 49, and she was like 24 or 25, both of them being basically told that they might be drawn and drafted. Drafted, so that could be something that happens in both the U.S. and also in other countries around the globe if this thing does really turn hot, which it seems like, it's part of almost all the prophecies.
Yeah.
When you look at whether you're looking at Hopi, it comes straight out and say the U.S. is going to be attacked. The Hopi prophecy says that and talks about bombs coming, raining down on the U.S. Nostradamus has so many different prophecies about the destruction of what appears to be WWIII. We could go on to Mother Shipton. We could go on to so many modern day prophets, more modern day prophets. It just goes on and on and on. And of course, you have the biblical end of it as well. So, and Albert Pike came right out and said in 1871 that they were planning 3 of these, by the way. So, again, I think the best thing we can do is wake up as many people as possible to the scripture that has been given us.
Absolutely.
And if we did have enough people not joining in partaking in this symphony of destruction, again, the guides have said this is all going to end when people realize and wake up that they've been played. And then they refuse to partake anymore. And that's it. That's when we're really stepping into the new era.
Yes, and they remove themselves from the system, and there's no longer anything to hold that system up. So what does it do? It falls.
So, yeah, there were some comments made by the UK government transport minister, Trudy Harrison, basically talking about how at some point you're going to have to give up your car. And again, think about everything that we're seeing. Certain entities, like the smiling, laughing, devilish one at the beginning of the last video we did over on Evolutionary, are buying up land like there's no tomorrow, especially farmland. And then eventually we know the greater plan is to herd everybody into smart cities and get people out of the countryside, get people out of private ownership of anything. You will own nothing and be happy. Remember the
slogan.
World Economic Forum was talking about that. Not that they won't own anything per se. No. You won't own anything. Us, normal, average people. Not the elite. They'll own everything. That's basically what they're saying. So take away your car, take away maybe your whatever else you're going to use, your car, your truck, and make it so that you have to rely on public transportation. But of course, you won't be able to use that unless you're up to date on whatever else, right?
Yeah, those other things.
So in other words, you're just kind of screwed unless you're...
Very much so.
Just to put it blunt. And, a lot of people are feeling like there's got to be greener pastures. And a lot of people are saying there are greener pastures, and they're just packing up and going. So we see Illinois breaks the record for population loss, out-migration in 2021. And some states are losing dramatically, and they have some things in common. Yeah, tax burden is definitely one of them. Crazy property taxes. Also, a lot of, kind of restrictions. So, yeah, Illinois, big time. The only 2 states, and Illinois is number 3, by the way, overall, but their population declined by a record 113,776 residents. We have one of our family members. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Alicia.
We love you.
Love you.
That was talking about going to see family, and she's like over in Nebraska, and she's got to go to Indiana to see family, and she doesn't want to drive through Illinois.
Right.
Because it just makes her uncomfortable.
Yep.
And that's the way certain people feel about certain states, because they could see what's happening with trends in certain states. So, number 1 and 2 is, as far as people leaving, California and New York. In droves, they're leaving California and New York and Illinois. Now, those are 3 major states that are seeing a ton of people leaving. And so, you can see by the colors. The darker blue, that's where people are going. People are going to Texas and Florida. Texas and Florida are leading the way. This is where people are heading. But you can see there's a lot of blue in the south. So a lot are going to the south, and a lot are going to the mountainous areas too, as you could see. Colorado's been a popular destination. A lot of people are very fond of the governor of South Dakota, by the way. People are still heading to Idaho as well. A lot of Californians going to Idaho. That's been the case, as well as Oregonians. Yeah, Oregonians. But yeah, you could see the states people are leaving en masse. And one of the other states that a lot of people are going to is Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And here you see Nashville's Southern hospitality and affordability is beckoning Californians. A lot of Californians are going to Nashville area. And there's a lot of people also heading over towards the Appalachians, and that makes me think of our good friend David Devine.
Hi, David.
In case you're listening, David. And David has the channel Adapt 2030, and Cindy and I did an interview with David that's being put up in 4 pieces. I think 2 of the 4 are up right now.
Yes.
Yeah, it was interesting because, gosh, we did that on a Sunday a few weeks back, and I hardly remember what we talk about, because with David, when we talk, everything just flows, and before we know it, 2 hours, 3 hours are gone, and it's like 1 a.m. and
it is,
because we could talk forever with him. He's very interesting guy with a ton of knowledge.
So much, yes.
So yes, Californians are heading to Nashville, and a lot of people are heading to Asheville. I want to say as well, because this article talks about good pizza and home brews, so to speak.
Which sounds so good right now.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I loved about Asheville was the restaurants, and Asheville's known for its microbreweries. Asheville it's a very, very cool place, as well as Nashville. And I've only gone through Nashville. I haven't really spent any appreciable time there, but did live in the Asheville area for just under a year. Wonderful people out that way too.
Very nice.
Yes. So again, guys, thank you so much for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without your support. Make sure you are subscribed to both channels. Share as much as you can. Name of the game is waking people up. When we get to that critical juncture point, everything will shift, and control will start to escape the grasp of those that have held it for so long.
Yes, but it takes all of us working together.
As always, much love. Namaste.
Namaste.